The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of AM 640.
I think I'm ready to start tonight. Gonna make believe we made it alright. Our hearts are heavy with the world tonight. I think I'm ready to start.
Hi, and welcome in to A View from Space. I'm the Spaceman. I'd like to welcome you in right now if you're listening to me on AM 640, driving around town or at work. Welcome you in. Or if you're checked into Channel 865 on Shaw Direct, picking up the streaming audio there, I welcome you in also. Or if you're picking me up on your 3 or your 4G personal communication device via Stream the World software, I welcome you in also. Or, if you're what some call the best seat in the house to check out A View from Space, logged on to 640toronto.com, picking up the live audio streaming there, I welcome you in. Wherever you are in the world, I welcome you in. Comets are omens in the occult. There are two basic kinds of omens, according to the occult believer. Normal occurrences of nature, which would be, for instance, the hooting of an owl, say, or the howling, not barking, the howling of dogs, which are interpreted in a special context to augur good or evil. And then there's unusual occurrences like flights of sacred birds, eclipses, comets that are believed to be direct manifestations of the gods. The Illuminati always use them as messengers, comets, to perpetuate their lies. It's described succinctly in the occult phrase, as it is above, so it is below. Meaning the future, yours and my future, is already been written in the movement of the stars. And it's forecasted by them, and when the stars align perfectly, things happen. John Gadbury of London, England, in his book De Cometis, published in 1665, in which he states comets are used to foretell coming events, threatening the world with famine, threatening the world with plagues, threatening the world with war, to princes, death, to kingdoms, many crosses, to all estates, inevitable losses, to herdsmen, rot, to plowmen, hapless seasons, droughts, too much rain, to sailors, storms, to cities, civil treasons. A quote from John Gadbury of London in his book, De Cometis, published 1665. Civilizations throughout recorded history have been fascinated with these things, these comets, and have held them in awe, fear even, and wonder. The earliest references to comets refer to them as terrible balls of fire that sowed terror. As the centuries passed, people began to see comets less as potentially destructive objects and more as omens of either good or bad things that would soon happen. For instance, Augustus Caesar became emperor of Rome around the same time a comet appeared in the sky. And this was widely held as a sign that his reign would be blessed by the gods. Even though comets have always been thought to have supernatural roles, scientists, philosophers, all tried to understand what comets were and where they came from. The Greek philosopher Aristotle thought that comets were merely meteors, while a much later Frenchman, Descartes, thought they were messengers from other worlds. Yet another philosopher, Georges-Louis Buffon, thought that comets were the source of the sun's energy, and that they had actually set the planets in their orbits around the sun. Let me bring up again what Georges-Louis Buffon, a philosopher of comets, had to say. He thought they were the source of the sun's energy, and they actually set the planets in their orbits around the sun. But gradually, though, scientists began to see that comets appear and disappear with regular cycles, which, I have to say, I believe to be a lie, and will here and now say it again. I don't believe comets appear and disappear with regular cycles. I don't believe they're the same thing. They're actually small balls of ice, we're told, and dust trailed by a tail of gas and dust. The difference between asteroids, comets, and meteors is quite different. Asteroids and comets are both classified as what you would call near-Earth objects. Asteroids are made of rock or metal and are thought to have been created in the warmer inner solar system. Comets are composed of ice, rock, and organic carbon-based compounds and are believed to have formed in the cold outer solar system. Scientists believe both are ancient remnants of the earliest years of the formation of our solar system more than 4 billion years ago. Can you believe it? Unbelievable. 4 billion year old universe. How'd they come up with that? Or is that just something they're grabbing a hold of and running with without any real proof? Because they never do have a lot of proof when it comes to anything farther out than, say 150 miles from the Earth's surface up to near outer space. I believe that's as far as we've ever gone. And I believe also it's as far as we have ever gone, about 155 miles to 200 miles, with satellites and any other of these probes that supposedly slipped through the rings of Saturn and actually landed on one of its moons. I don't believe that for a second. Not for 1 nano moment. Because I believe the whole thing about what we believe is, or what we're told to believe is out there, really isn't out there. So, the difference between asteroids, comets, meteors, is that asteroids and comets, near-Earth objects, and when asteroids collide, meteoroids, or smaller rock bodies, are produced. We're told meteoroids are also formed when a comet passes near the sun, and the heat from the sun releases dust particles from the comet's icy tail. And when a meteoroid or asteroid enters the Earth's atmosphere, it ignites, creating a visible streak of light called a meteor. If the object doesn't vaporize completely and crashes into the Earth, it's called a meteorite. When I come back, Comet Hyakutake. That's the comet Hyakutake, named after a Japanese astronomer, is next on A View from Space on AM 640, as tonight we delve into comets and time and space here on A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. I'm the Spaceman, and I'm just getting started.
Extreme radio for extreme times. This is A View from Space with the Spaceman on AM 640.
I'm the Spaceman. This is A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. I'd like to communicate. I do it through emails. I have two addresses. One is spaceman@640toronto.com. The other simply space@640toronto.com. Just got underway talking about comets. Now, next on the docket is Comet Hyakutake of March of 1996. It is said in Hopi Indian prophecy that a great blue star will appear in the heavens. And then afterward, either a great universal awakening of spirituality and harmony will follow, or humanity will continue on a jagged path which will taper off into oblivion. So says the Hopi Indian prophecy. That I've talked about a few other shows here on A View from Space throughout the years. This jagged path may be the Hopi version of the biblical latter days. There's some confusion when it comes to the blue star, depending on which versions of the Hopi prophecies you read. One of the most famous is by Whitefeather, who says the blue star will be a dwelling place in the heavens that falls to earth with a great crash. Some have actually tied this in with the International Space Station, that this may in fact actually be the ISS, or ISIS for short, as NASA calls it. If it's been in the Illuminati-controlled media, then you could be sure that we're being woken up to the idea, at least. Now, the International Space Station has appeared once again in these last couple of weeks in the Illuminati-controlled mass media. And the story is that a couple of weeks ago, an unmanned Soyuz rocket, which was headed for the space station, Russia has now grounded its fleet of Soyuz spacecraft, and they are the only vehicles right now capable of delivering supplies and a fresh crew to the space station now that the U.S. Space Shuttle's program has been retired. They've even gone so far as to say, possibly, that the scientists and engineers at both the Russian Space Agency and NASA are insisting that no further flights will take place until the cause of the crash of this unmanned Soyuz rocket to the International Space Station has been determined and the problem fixed, which we're told could take months. And if the delay does go beyond this November, the latest word is that the International Space Station may have to be abandoned until the rockets are reliably flying again. Of course, an unmanned station dramatically increases the chance of something going catastrophically wrong. Or consider this. Maybe, just maybe, this is going to be told to the world that it has actually been abandoned, that there will no longer be anyone this coming November on the International Space Station. But what if there were to be a secret crew manning the station so that this secret crew can work its magic, if you get my meaning, to fool the world into believing a great, huge rock the size of Pluto in the shape of a potato is about to impact Earth. Now, if you go back to what the Illuminati have been teaching the youngest of the children with this dinosaur phenomenon. Kids love dinosaurs. Every 3-year-old you know has a dinosaur of some kind, indelibly imprinting on their minds that there were these creatures living on Earth. For a moment, I don't believe there were ever dinosaurs. How about that one? Yeah, I don't believe that. I believe that's a figment of the controllers, the elite's imagination. And I believe, and have done research, and I've done shows on some of these so-called dinosaur-structured bones. You know how they put the dinosaur all back together with all of the bones in the proper place again? Well, they're all just plastic. They're not the real bones, they're plastic. And they are made from plastic molds. And there are artists that actually come up with drawings for dinosaurs. Believe it or not, I revealed that years ago on a show. Well, not many years ago, but a few. All to perpetuate this lie that dinosaurs once inhabited the Earth only, and that a great meteor smashed into the Earth and wiped them all out, causing an ice age, as the Earth was tilted from 0 axis to 23.4 degrees to a side, like off-center, if you know what I mean. And that's what we are told today gives us our seasons, the 23-degree tilt in the Earth. Like it's not straight up and down, north and the South Pole. They're at an angle to the right side as we spin clockwise. That's what we're taught. And it used to be that they believed that the sun revolved around the Earth. And the sun was just a star. And other planets along with it revolved around the Earth. And the Earth was the center of the universe. Then, that all changed to put the sun at the center of the universe. And that's where we stand today, with all the science to back it up, all of the gobbledygook, all of the information, all of the supposedly correct geometry, physics inlaid into it, that the sun, of course, is the center of the universe and everything revolves around the sun. And there are all these other planets. Well, I don't believe there's planets either. I believe there's lights in the sky. I can see them. But I don't believe they're planets. I don't believe there are other orbs circling around. More on that deeper into tonight's show here on A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. All over the net, you'll see this, what I'm talking about. How possibly a meteor, a huge meteor, could actually slam into the Earth. Hollywood's already been there. Deep Impact. Check it out. If you're in front of your Mac or your PC at home right now, checking out the live audio streaming on 640toronto.com, you can Google the plot on Deep impact. That's programming the human mind. That's what Hollywood does. That movie programs people's minds to get ready for, to expect, to allow your mind to have the possibility of a chance of a meteor actually slamming into Earth. And after all, it's been done before because, hey, that's what the dinosaur you bought your kids is all about. There was already one and it wiped all the dinosaurs out. All over the net there's stories like this. It's a super fast blue star shot out of the Milky Way. An ancient Hopi Indian prophecy states, when the blue star Kachina makes its appearance in the heavens, the fifth world will emerge. This will be the day of purification. The Hopi name for the star, Sirius, is Blue Star Kachina. It will come when the Sasquatch, Blue Star Kachina, dances in the plaza and removes his mask. However, other interpreters of the Hopi prophecies believe that the Blue Star Kachina will be a cosmic event, a real star, supernova, or comet that will herald in a terrible global war. Here's one such interpretation from the prophecies of the Hopi peoples by Frank Waters. World War III is going to be started by those peoples who first revealed the light of divine wisdom in other older countries. The United States will be destroyed, land and people, by atomic bombs and radioactivity. Only the Hopis and their homeland will be preserved as an oasis to which refugees will flee. The war will be a spiritual conflict with material matters. Material matters will be destroyed by spiritual beings who will remain to create one world and one nation under one power, that of the Creator. That time is not far off. It will come when the Sasquatch, or the Blue Star Kachina, dances in the plaza and removes his mask. He represents a blue star, far off and yet invisible, which will make his appearance soon. Space back in a moment on AM 640 Talk Radio.
You're listening to A View from Space with the Spaceman, exercising the rights to free speech while he still can, on AM 640.
I'm the guy they call Space. This is View from Space on AM 640. You can email me at space@640toronto.com or spaceman@640toronto.com. I have spoken about the Hopis before. You will find new information that has never been aired on A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. Far off and yet invisible, which will make its appearance soon. Sounds like a lot like a gamma burst supernova, doesn't it? And where will the war begin, according to the Hopi? Where will the United States go to fight first? Those who possessed the first light of wisdom, and those people who first revealed the light in the other older countries, can only mean one thing. The white man, America, will go to war as ally of some enemy of others in the old wise nations around India, China, Korea, Iran, and the Middle East. The Hopi also never mention Russia. But we can conclude the war spreads, and based on our other evidence that the many columns of smoke and fire and the atomic bombs and radioactivity will come from Russia, perhaps China and North Korea too. The last time a major bluish comet appeared in the northern hemisphere, China was actually holding its largest war games ever off the coast of Taiwan. It had fired missiles even close to the Taiwanese coast and was threatening to nuke Los Angeles. Comet Hyakutake, blue-green in color, reached its peak brightness on March 23, the year 1996. The very same day, the war games reached their climax, and Taiwan held a presidential election. Hyakutake, by the way, means 100 samurai, or chivalry in Japanese. It's named after the man who saw first the comet, named after him, Hyakutake. Now, what happens when this supernova becomes visible? This entire affair has brought into remembrance a warning revealed that has been appearing on the net for some time now. A blue star is now gradually becoming visible to astronomers in the form of what they anticipate will be a very bright hypernova. Yes, hypernova, due to the gamma ray burst, we're told. That is the actual word for it, which will brighten enough to be seen in small telescopes. Soon the blue star or blue ring, whichever form it will take, could exceed astronomers' expectations and become visible even to the naked eye. It is located in the constellation Aries, the Ram, supposedly. The significance of this is yet another dimension. The Ram is the symbol for Persia, now modern Iran, in Daniel's prophecy. But if this hypernova is one of the instructions are for people not to look at it, for some reason, millions of people will die, either looking at it or from events that will occur at the time it is visible. I saw an angel in the sky up above the earth and to the east, and when it moved, there was a bright explosion of white light. All of a sudden, it turned into a bluish white ring of fire and started to move in every direction. A quote from Richard Tassey. Richard Tassey's some kind of a modern-day Nostradamus, along with occultist Edgar Cayce, the psychic Gene Dixon, and many more who prophesy about things like the Hopi Indian prophecy, King Arthur's dream, and the third secret of Fatima, and others. World War III will be started by those people who first revealed the light of divine wisdom in other older countries, as I've already told you. The United States will be destroyed, land and people, by atomic bombs and radioactivity. That's the Hopi prophecy by Frank Waters I've told you about. This flash of heat and light might flash burn anything not in the shade. Heating the atmosphere would also cause huge winds. The air would be much hotter for weeks, as hot as an oven depending on the distance. This would actually affect the other side of the Earth eventually. A large, elongated, potato-shaped planet could someday turn into the brightest comet ever known, according to astronomers. This little world is as big as Pluto when you consider its longest dimension, we're told. Supposedly has a core made up of rock and a surface enveloped by ice. Mike Brown, professor of the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, calculated that the object has a projected path that would likely bring it to where it would be seen as a short-period comet from Earth at that point. Now, the reason the object would become so bright is that Neptune's gravity would likely pull it towards the sun, where its icy surface would vaporize, forming a grand tail. But there are other reasons, too. The object is much more oval than other such bodies, a shape pretty much attributed to its extremely rapid rotation. It spins around its axis every few hours. To give you an idea, it takes Earth 24 hours to spin one total spin. The legendary egg-like shape has been attributed to what has been for years on the internet called Nibiru. Also called Nibiru by the ancients, by the way, or also known as Planet X today. You'll find that also. It's the same thing. Nibiru, Planet X are the same star. I do, however, get the distinct feeling that we are being prepared for something. The International Space Station is not up there to do experiments of recording ocean temperatures or weather patterns or cloud formations. Hardly. There is a very intricate array of satellite technology that is now up there, and the International Space Station, I believe, is the control center, the control room for those satellites that can do all manners of projections. All kinds of magical tricks from outer space. Thinking, of course, that it could be coming from outer space. But let me tell you this. When you have men above the Earth 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and you're getting signals from deep space saying it's this or it's that, my mind goes to, well, hold on a minute. There are men up there. Why couldn't it possibly be coming from them? I've seen the enemy. He is us. So as I say, this legendary egg-like shape has been attributed to Nibiru by the ancients, known as Planet X today. I do, as I say, think we're being prepared for something. The story has been circulating for a while now. May of 2003 was supposed to be the target month and year for the close approach of Nibiru Planet X, also known as EL61, by the way, according to Nancy Leader, who was made a laughingstock for her premature projection and for the fact that she actually received her information by channeling space aliens. And EL61 was the original name of Planet X Nibiru. Could indeed be a cryptic abbreviation of ELE. Do you have any idea what ELE stands for? Extinction Level Event. A phrase most fans of the film that I have just alluded to a little earlier in the show, Deep Impact, are very, very familiar with. Because that's where they really put the ELE in your head. Extinction Level Event. In other words, not just any, what I call Illuminati event, one that is on the level of making extinct an entire race of people, an entire population. What we've been seeing recently is numerous freak tornadoes. Doesn't matter where you are listening to A View from Space on AM 640 talk radio right now. Doesn't matter what country you're in. You know what I'm talking about. Numerous freak tornadoes in places not accustomed to having any tornadic activity at all. Major volcanic eruptions, like those in Iceland lately, and Mount Etna in Italy. Super hurricanes like Katrina and Rita. And the December 2004 Sumatra earthquake and resulting tsunami. Then there was the 2010 Chilean earthquake, where we're told was so powerful that it actually shifted the Earth's axis and shortened the length of day. And the Japanese earthquake accompanying the tsunami this year are but a tip of the iceberg of what will happen when Planet X really gets close to Earth. We're informed. Spaceman, AM 640, back with more in a moment on A View from Space.
Ancient mystery religions, numerology, the Holy Grail decoded, and he goes deeper than a black hole into today's headlines. This is A View from Space with the Spaceman on AM 640.
The guy that calls Space, you can email me at spaceman@640toronto.com or simply space@640toronto.com. Thanks for the ones I've also received already. They start rolling in before the show begins. AT and Australia, Down Under, writes, "Hey, Space. Britney Spears' video clip, Till the World Ends. The video shows a comet approaching Earth and causing all kinds of chaos, huge rocks raining down on the Earth while Britney and her mates are dancing away underground on December 21st, 2012, which is, of course, the magical date for the end of the sun worshipper Mayan people's calendar." And he closes out the email by asking, does she have knowledge about what's coming? Thought the video was a little creepy. AT, Australia. No, Brittany has no idea. She's what they call a monarch butterfly. She's a programmed actor. And you could tell by the way she behaved. Lindsay Lohan, another one. By the way, both Brittany and Lindsay Lohan, originally Mouseketeers for Walt Disney. Little connection for you there, where the brainwashing begins. You think just Hollywood stars are brainwashed? Manchurian-type candidates? Monarch butterflies, as they call them? No. You could be. And don't know it. Go to movies a lot? The movies are laced with predictive programming. You know what predictive programming is? Planting a thought, an image, with that thought process in your head as you walk around with it, back into the subconscious. Always, though, there at the ready to be triggered, to be brought out back into the conscious mind. Deep Impact, if you saw that flick. That is predictive programming. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Deeper into the email from AT in Australia, he also says Deep Impact has a black president played by Morgan Freeman. Creepy movie, Spaceman. And I don't have to tell you there's a black president in office at this moment. Predictive programming. Incredibly accurate, I think. because they already know the event they want to promote. So as I said, earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanoes. And yes, you are correct if you have the feeling that these events have been increasing and have been intensifying because of the chemtrailing and the new technology available. As all other occult phenomena are connected. For instance, between 1961 and 1965, over 2,000 apparitions of the Virgin Mary appeared in San Sebastian de Garabandal in northwest Spain. 4 girls, aged 11 and 12, revealed 4 warnings in visions that concerned our future. The 4 warnings given were, in the order of sequence, the warning, a worldwide warning, is to be experienced by everyone on Earth. Its purpose will be to call humanity to end its behavior and return to God. A spiritual awakening, rising to another conscious level, is how the occult put it. The miracle is the second. A great miracle will occur in the late winter or early spring within 1 year after the warning. The third warning was signs of the miracle. Permanent signs of the miracle will remain for all time at a pine grove near Garabandal in Spain and other selected locations where there have been Marian apparitions, the Virgin Mary. The fourth and final warning is called the chastisement. A terrible chastisement will occur during which many will die. Other prophecies indicate that this chastisement will eliminate up to 2/3 of humanity. And of course, predictive programming. Over and over and over again, you have heard that the globe is becoming overpopulated. Mother Nature, Gaia, the Earth Goddess, can no longer support all of us humans feeding off of her, polluting her, thereby destroying her. And she's getting angry and rebelling and slashing back. Because you see, the earth isn't just dirt and plants. It's a living spirit called Gaia, the Earth Goddess, according to the Illuminati. And it's said that there are too many of us, and there will be a depopulating of the earth. Now, the Illuminati have depopulated the earth more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. As a matter of fact, all through history, you will see depopulation, which are wars. Wars get rid of a lot of people. Plagues get rid of a lot of people. One of the girls in the Virgin Mary apparition at Saint Sebastian de Garabandal, Conchita Gonzalez was her name, described the first supernatural event, the warning. She described it this way. Here's her words. I quote, "The warning is something that is seen in the air, everywhere in the world, and is immediately transmitted into the interior of our souls. It will last a very little time, but it will seem a very long time because of its effect within us. It would be like fire. It will not burn our flesh, but we will feel it boldly and interiorly. The warning appears like 2 stars that crash and make a lot of noise and a lot of light, but they don't fall. It's not going to hurt us, but we're going to see it. And in that moment, we're going to see our consciousness. Although it's clear that this Nibiru, Planet X, if you like, did not arrive on May 15th, 2003, as predicted by Nancy, leader of Zeta Talk, and Mark Hazelwood, book authors, who capitalized on their mutual concocted scare, were informed by the Illuminati-controlled mass media that this does not mean Planet X doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean that it won't pass near our world at some other point in the very near future. Astronomers appear to be preparing us gradually for the inevitable passage of this giant rock called Nibiru or Planet X, and now have just recently given it yet another name, which is Sedna. In the prophecy of Garabandal, the four girls, you were introduced to the final event in a series of four. Chastisement is a theory that is this chastisement and the so-called Planet X or Sedna may be one and the same. The chastisement may be related to this prophecy by Nostradamus concerning a comet that appears like, well, two suns. I've talked about this not too long ago with the last few flights of the international or the United States shuttle program going to the International Space Station before it was concluded. There were two twins, a pair of twins, Mark Kelly and Scott Kelly. Scott Kelly was already up there. The final mission was to be flown by Mark, his twin brother. And they were to meet and be together on the International Space Station, which would actually, as it is above, so it is below kind of theme, would put two suns that looked exactly identical to one another, which is what this Planet X, Sedna, Nibiru, whatever you want to call it, will be like. It'll be as bright and as our sun. There will be two suns in the sky when it appears. Well, there would have been, except for the long delay of one of the shuttle flights that negated the chances of the two Kellys, the two suns, being in the sky at the same time. Gabriella Giffords, by the way, the lady who received a head wound in Arizona, the congresswoman, is the wife of Mark Kelly, the captain, the commander of the final shuttle flight to the International Space Station aboard Atlantis. The great double star and the great pontiff, Nostradamus, of course, about a comet that appears like two suns. I'll go through that quatrain and what most sites on the internet are talking about when they talk about this prophecy of Nostradamus and a comet that appears like two suns. Back with more after the break. It's A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. I'm Space.
Deprogramming the brainwashed simply by uncovering the truth. He's the Spaceman with A View from Space on AM 640.
The Spaceman, AM 640 and A View from Space. This is Talk Radio. I'm Space. You can email me at spaceman@640toronto.com or space@640toronto.com. I communicate by email. PL writes, "Hey, Space, great show last week. You spoke about the big hype, and it was hype. I did a show about threes everywhere, mostly with the earthquakes There were 3 of them in 3 days. Hurricane. And then the West Memphis 3, a satanic blood ritual sacrifice. There's so many 3s. And then my email box was filled with an NHL hockey player's death by the name of Wade Belak, who became the 3rd NHL player to commit suicide this summer. Now, Wade Belak played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, in which he wore number 3. He played for the Florida Panthers, in which he wore number 33, because someone else already had the 3. He also played in Calgary and a few other places. Calgary, he could not have the 3 because it was already taken by another player. But he is inextricably connected to 3, and he became the 3rd, and I believe final, because there was a ritual of 3s last week. Anyway, that was the show that I had done. Oh, and also Libya. Tripoli fell. Tripoli. Get it? Triple. And, of course, Odyssey. Dawn. Operation Odyssey Dawn was the name of the operation that NATO employed with the no-fly zone over Libya. And if you research that name, Odyssey, of course, is one of Homer's poems, and Dawn was the mother of Helios, who is the sun. So it is going to the source and going back to the sun. And the Odyssey that Homer wrote about, with Odysseus searching for the Golden Fleece, which of course is the New World Order, which is all of the ports and the network of trade routes being set up. Libya was his 3rd stop. So there were a ton of 3s in last week's show. And of course, Obama, front and center, at the command center, governors too and mayors ordering populations to flee. And my emailer, PL, writes, seems to me like this was a beta test to see if people would jump if the government said jump. It reminds me of last year's vaccination drive, where yet again the sky would fall if we didn't get our shots. There's no difference than it was a terrorist drill for the mass population. Signed PL. This could easily be, like you said, a beta test. So that when they are about to possibly spring this light in the sky on us, with the aid of the International Space Station, of course, that possibly, just maybe, that was what the beta test was about. Because it's pretty hard to swallow that a hurricane is going to rip up the coast, especially when hurricanes, once they hit land, quickly lose wind speed. So really all Irene had was water, floods, because most of the places that it hit were near the water or on a river. And so, of course, there would be the flooding. But just what if Barack Obama grabbed that same microphone with all of the mayors and all of the governors and said, don't panic, but there's a meteor coming. And here is what we want you to do. I could see that. So, in the prophecy of Garabandal, the 4 girls in Spain, we were introduced, of course, to the final event in a series of 4, the chastisement, one of the series of 4 final events. could possibly be this so-called Planet X or Sedna or Nibiru. And the chastisement also may be related to this prophecy of Nostradamus concerning a comet that appears like two suns in the sky. And I told you about the two astronauts that were going to, as it is above, so it is below, do the ritual before it happens in the material world. The Great Double Star and the Great Pontiff by Nostradamus goes like this. It's a well-known prophecy concerning a time when a pope will leave Rome when a brilliant star is burning in the heavens. Quatrain 2, line 41 starts. The great star for 7 days will burn. The cloud will make two suns appear. The great mastiff will be all night howling when the great pontiff changes his land. Many interpretations believe this portends a time when the Pope will be forced to flee Rome during an attack on Italy and seek refuge in another country. And I'll tell you right now, I've talked about this scenario before many times and believe it will be. Because I believe that the Antichrist, when he comes, will have a false prophet. He will no longer need the Vatican. And when he declares himself God, or about to, will get rid of the one who says his office is to be in the place of God until he comes. So I guess when God comes, the Pope must exit. And that's what I believe is going to happen in real life. The cloud will make two suns appear is the big line in this Nostradamus quatrain. The comet foreseen by Nostradamus in that Nostradamus quatrain will burn its brightest over a period of the spiritual number, of course, 7 days. More importantly, line 2 says that the star's cloud will appear like a second sun, making two suns appear in the sky at once. One obvious impression is that this will be a daylight comet or object and will appear alongside the sun. So we will see two suns seemingly side by side. Then again, if the mastiff is howling all night, make this a nocturnal phenomenon, there may be another reason why this comet or star will appear as two suns. Since the appearance in May and July of 2001, that very pivotal year, Comet Linear A2 discovered. It's remotely possible that Nostradamus was speaking about a comet with two brilliant heads surrounded by a coma. A coma is cloudy particles of gas and dust, sometimes described as hair. It's taken from the Greek word meaning hair, coma. This surrounds the head of a comet as it passes close to the sun. You know, that push of air outside the orb before as it shoots through the air. That front part is called a coma. Cloudy particles of gas and dust. As the comet passes close to the sun and heats up. Back with more on this. Two brilliant heads surrounded by a coma. Next on A View from Space. I'm Space. Back in a moment on Talk Radio. AM 640.
He goes deeper into today's headlines than anyone else dares to go. But you can take it. This is A View from Space with the Spaceman on AM 640.
I'm Space. This is A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. Emails to spaceman at 640toronto.com or space at 640toronto.com. MD writes, Space, just loved what you said about the dinosaurs. I thought I was the only kid in the world that thought they were invented by the quacks. No, you're not alone. As a matter of fact, there are many who don't believe the dinosaur dribble. And that number is growing because there is more distrust now. There is more information out there that now makes the Illuminati-controlled mass media look like they are making stuff up, which they are, with no fact. Can you imagine the once great stalwart truth organization of the BBC now is running video from YouTube that is uncorroborated or unconfirmed, reporting from places like Syria and Libya. Yet they say, well, here it is anyway. We don't know if this is really true, but we're rolling it like it is. And we're accepting it as true. And it's always from activists, medics, or anonymous people where they get their information from. So now so many people are starting to catch on and realizing they say world news. What they actually mean is world propaganda, because there's a huge difference. It's all in the perception that I've talked about many times on A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio. So I was saying before the break with Nostradamus, the appearance May, July, in that area of 2001, Comet Linear A2, remotely possible that Nostradamus was speaking about a comet with two brilliant heads surrounded by a coma. That's the front part of the comet, as it looks a lot like hair. It's gases and dust, supposedly in front. Taken from the Greek word meaning hair, that's why it's called like a hair, a coma, around the front. There's an ancient prophecy that describes that what may be the slowing of the Earth's rotation is something that researchers ascribe to the gravitational force exerted upon the Earth by an object like a brown dwarf star, something that Nibiru, Planet X, also now known as Sedna, is purported to be. It describes the sun halting in the heavens. For the Third World War, the Earth shakes. The throat of the Gaul is ravaged, which is France. Many die fleeing from the awful winds. The sun halts in its path in the heavens. It is then said that the Noma will die when the wolf is hacked to bits. The wolf, of course, being Germany. The fiery invasion of southern France is echoed in this ancient document authored by an unknown man of the cloth, a clergyman, in 346 AD, entitled The Liber Vaticanationum Quodam Instinctumentis. It presages 3 world wars that will directly involve Germany. We've had 2. The third one is already underway in the stock market and in pockets around the world, but is not full-blown yet. But Germany will be in the center. The first 2 as an aggressor, Germany, and the last war as a defender of the empire against the invaders from the east. Gottfried von Wertenberg describes a potentially related vision by the seer of Waldwertel in his book Vision 2004. Here it is. It's called A Reign of Fire. It'll be a cosmic event, most definitely before World War III. Let me make clear here that the Waldwickler and Godfrey von Wedenberg consider World War III to be the Russian invasion of Europe. Major wars in the Middle East and the Balkans will be going on before the Russian invasion is said to occur, they say. Now, we might consider it to be part of World War III, but most European prophets do not make that distinction. It will be a beautiful summer's day in Austria. No cloud to be seen in the sky. People in the village will be excited. They look towards the sun, which begins to darken. It's approximately 10 o'clock in the morning, not in summertime. Whilst the sun is getting darker, dusk is already covering the earth at 10 a.m. It's not the usual solar eclipse, but a kind of fog in the universe far outside of our atmosphere. The sky is getting darker and darker. At first there are only a few stars seen, then more, and then even more appear as it becomes even more dark. A person, it said, will be able to see them at first in the west, then in the north, the stars. There are no stars in the east and in the south. You'd still be able to identify the ground, but there won't be enough light to, say, read something. Suddenly, the stars disappear. Complete darkness now covers the earth. A few minutes passed. Now, it's getting brighter. A person will now be able to see the surrounding area. But there is no sun. Billions of white dots can be observed in the east. It's like a rain of glowing fire, moving from east, northeast to west, southwest very quickly. It's hitting the ground like a heavy fall of hail. The glow turns from white to the color yellow, then to glowing red before hitting the ground. They fall in distance of 50 meters to 100 meters apart, and they make no noise. When they hit the ground, they look like dust particles of grains of sand. Some are as big as a child's fist. The villagers don't run for cover, and they don't appear to be afraid. The time between the sighting of the particles in the northeast and their hitting the ground is a matter of seconds, maximum a minute or so. Once the particles hit the ground, it becomes bright again. A fierce storm begins to blow now from the east and creates fire. It drives before it a fierce fire. The grass is singed, burning. Forest fires break out. Fields begin to burn. Barns, then sheds. Farm buildings are on fire. Houses, factories are burning too. The sun will not shine again on this day. The cause of the rain of glowing fire might be a comet directly or indirectly responsible for it. The seer is unable to tell. The time of year is the summer, probably the first half of August. The year is not given, but it could be any year from 1995 onwards. This would also match the hail of fire mingled with blood found in Revelation and the burning mountains striking the ocean, destroying a third of all life. Again, I should state what may seem obvious to some, that these comet fragments may in actuality be debris from Planet X, wormwood, smashing into us. As George W. Bush expanded the war on terror and the war in Iraq into World War III. Doesn't Ezekiel say that his hand will punish the armies of Gog descending upon Israel with fire, leaving only a sixth of them remaining? A piece of evidence that Planet X and World War III will happen at the same time, possibly? Because as I've repeated many times before on A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio, the Illuminati are going to follow the Bible to the letter to convince the believers of the Bible to fight against the believers of the Quran. Still, if the seventh seal is to be opened, and the first two trumps sounded, why has there not been the global seismic destruction that occurs during the opening of the sixth seal? Perhaps this is exactly what the Great West Coast earthquake that has for so long been predicted for California. They call it simply the big one there. Could that be the event described in Revelation as the opening of the sixth seal that would be sufficient to turn the sun black as sackcloth and the moon a color of blood? By the time the dust clears following this nuclear autumn, when the most dreadful apparition will be seen in the heavens, just as Russia and Iran prepare their armies for an invasion of Europe, I know for sure that the Illuminati are readying us for something big, but I'm not sure if that's it. Or maybe it is. Spaceman back with more in a moment on A View from Space on AM 640 Talk Radio.